All right, everyone, we are looking at Carcassonne, or as I titled it here, Carcassonne, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Mega Castle, which is, of course, a reference to Doctor Strangelove. And I love sticking all that geeky stuff in there because, I don't know, the references to old movies and old music and that kind of stuff, that was a big way of how my dad and I connected. And so I couldn't help but leave that little homage in here. And you know what? I really like this review. This was something that I didn't really intend to bust out a Carcassonne review, but all of a sudden it was like, I really like Carcassonne. I have been playing it a few nights with my wife, and we were planning on playing again soon. I was like, you know what? I will take some photos and let's bust this out. So that's the genesis of the Carcassonne review as it came out. And unlike many of our other reviews that we've done where I've spent a lot of time thinking about it and sculpting and crafting the review, this one came out like kablamo. Like, it was really quick. And that was refreshing because I hadn't written any reviews in quite some time. So this was a bit of a return to form, and it felt really good getting back to written reviews. Something that I want to do more of, but the thing is that my video reviews, I rely on energy and presence, and I'm spending so much time learning how to utilize the camera to have a voice of its own, and I'm spending less time thinking about the dialogue itself, because in some instances, to give you a little peek behind the curtain here, I'm actually recording off of a script. Like, I don't read a script. Like, I don't have a teleprompter in front of me or anything. But I do tend to write an outline and have a script, and I'm terrible at following it. I start trailing off and come up with a million different things I want to talk about. But overall, I try to stick to some sort of formulated idea that I thought up in advance for the most part. And when that happens, then I have to have less complicated or playful ideas, or they have to be in shorter nuggets on video, but not in written form, and I can indulge myself in written form, and that's something I love and is completely true here. Like, if I look at the review itself, there's a lot of alliteration that I jammed in here. I've been listening to a lot of analysis of Tolkien's work and his rhythm and emphasis on the sound of words, the shape of words and sentences, has really influenced how I'm thinking about my own writing. And that was a lot of the original point of the Cardboard Herald in the first place, was to get better as a writer and do something creative, something I hadn't done in a while and wanted to get better at. And I think this is showing how I'm becoming more thoughtful and more concise, while also playing with language to convey not just ideas but feelings just through the sound of the language itself. And I'm noticing it in reading it. Like, for example, for the TCBH reviews episode here, I am actually hearing my conversational style injected into my writing, though it is far more eloquent because I'm sitting there and sculpting it and crafting it. So that's kind of what's going on here. But the long and short of it, Carcassonne is just one of those timeless games, and unlike many of the other games that are kind of gateway games, I still reach for it and play it. I own Ticket to Ride. I own Settlers of Catan. I have owned Pandemic, but I've since gotten rid of it. But not because this is a bad game, but I got it at like a thrift shop for $1, and I had a friend who was looking for great games to play as couples, and I was like, I really never go to play Pandemic because I have Legacy or a million other options that I could play. But Carcassonne is one that I will always want to play. And as you can see in the review itself, I have the 6 little mini expansions. I have these hand-sewn bags that I've sculpted for it. I actually did those while my wisdom teeth were freshly pulled, and I was sitting on the couch just watching TV. I don't know, maybe Battlestar Galactica or Game of Thrones or something, binging that kind of stuff, sewing bags, and trying not to get dry socket, as you do. So anyway, Carcassonne is a game that I still have a love for and a reverence for, that feels energetic and delightful in a way that some of the other gateway games don't necessarily, or they don't really fit the kind of gaming that I would do with my wife or some friends coming over. Whereas the other gateway games, I might reserve them for new players, for gateway games, exactly as we box them in by calling them gateway games. But Carcassonne is one that still feels fresh, and I really enjoy that. Now, with this review, I did have an encounter on Board Game Geek where one of the respondents to the review, Derek Whaley, replied with cough, mega city cough, because I improperly used the term mega castle, and I went back and added that line. Maybe that's a little bit of cheating, but that's something that I did, where I added the line that the mega castles are parentheses. They're actually called cities, but we both know that they're totally mega castles, which is true, because they have and forever will be called castles in my book. I know I've read the rule book when I first got the game, but they are castles, and there was no competing terminology. And I know that since this coming out, there have been expansions that actually have things called castles in them, but that's not really something that I have integrated into the base game, and maybe that's something that I should do or pay more attention to, but I'm not too worried about it. So, I'll cross that bridge when I get there, but I think that retaining mega castles, when we're talking about shapes of the words in the way that I was just talking about shapes of the words, I think that totally fits in. So I'm going to stick with mega castle. So not much else to say. That's pretty much it. That's the additional thoughts, and I didn't really have too much Q&A to do on this because most of the feedback was just straightforward and receptive. So it's additional thoughts on Carcassonne. Thank you so much for watching. I've been Jack.